Hopefully I was loud enough. Yes, we're good.
First order of business is that Elena Martinez, Malden's Language Access Coordinator, will appear before the City Council with an update of the city's new multilingual telephone line.
Ms. Martinez, if you please approach the podium. And if you would state your name and for the record and position. Oh, 1 second, let me get you on, my dear. Here you go, you're live.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Elena Martinez. I'm the Language Access Coordinator for the City of Malden. And I'm here just to give you a quick update of what I've been up to. The Language Access Office. At City Hall, what I've been doing is mostly training departments and just explaining the laws that are behind my position and what is, what are the requirements. What I've been finding, it's almost been a year. It has not been quite a year, for me to find all these solutions. I have been meeting community partners, reading reports, and, still going back to data from schools and, all different sources and learning how we interact with the Malden community. And, on that note, just trying to find ready-to-use solutions rather than plan ahead and sitting on it. So we have day-to-day solutions in-house. And, at the City Hall level, right now, the solutions are continuing to be implemented. And that takes the form of giving the departments information, having training sessions one-on-one with staff members, as well as whole departments. On that information, what came out of these sessions is that rather than having one-size-fits-all language access plan for City Hall, every department must, just find their own solutions of how they interact with their constituents based on forms, applications, and outreach. One example of compliance will be knowing that if you receive federal funds, you have to have language access. And most of the people in Malden, we have over 60, because we have a large category of other languages. So they don't approach the threshold, but we have more than 60 languages here. Right now we are counting day-to-day for 6 or 7 of them. So each department must know, and every staff member needs to understand how to interact with those constituents. So that's at the City Hall level. They also we have pocket talks. They are available at every department. We have the language access line, which goes both ways. It's available for the community to call in, or if somebody's here in-house, we can pick up the phone and call. So we have interpreters present all the time at City Hall. Every department will assign a liaison that will learn everything that I'm doing and bring it back to, so that will be the first interaction of every department with their liaison, and then if we need to create or look for other solutions, then I will work with that person rather than, just having the whole department deal directly with me. We are kind of, just creating stop signs so we can, so we can manage and implement, we can see immediately if a solution is working. That's pretty much the idea. The multilingual line, we have seen great benefits. It gets used every day. We have seen the report since in January, and the most recent one is in February. We have, on the report, we can break down by language, by type of questions, by what department, answered the call. And right now, the top 3 languages calling into the line are Portuguese, Spanish, and Arabic. And that, Portuguese being the top one. The department that gets the most calls is housing stability. And that is from the Portuguese community looking for help. It can be, they are having issues with rent or evictions. And the next on the top most requests that get to the call is, how can I find a job? And these are, these people are calling the line because they don't have fully, they understand a little bit, and some of them are not, they don't speak English, so they are resorting to, just calling out for help. This week, I had somebody come into my office because they saw, oh, you have a language access line. And they came to my office asking, how can I use Google? And I'm like, that's not a city hall, but just the fact that we have a language access line, I was so happy that, that person just showed up and asked for help. I sent him back to, where do you get your phone? So, but it's just, opening up lines of conversation. It could be any conversation. The person lives here. We don't know what they need. So the language line is really helping us find out what's happening in the community. And, the benefits I've seen with that is that we are capturing day-to-day interactions. So we have all of that in Excel sheets, so we can break it down by any way we want it. The other thing is that this is a grassroots initiative. It started in Malden. These are local interpreters, and opens up opportunity for local bilingual community members. Also, it gives back to the local economy. So these are benefits of using that. Also, as we get the questions and requests, we can also match those with, maybe we need to do more outreach for a certain department or doing more in certain languages. So it really opens up, a whole level of interaction and outreach for us, for every single department. The next thing that I'm working on is the Town Hall series with, and I have some partners in the counselors. And the next one will be the Portuguese Town Hall. We are still trying to decide the date, which should be very soon. But some of the partners, the local partners and participants, will include City Hall departments, our Malden counselors. The TDM Church has a social services that they have been providing to the community. So they are coming so we can see how we overlap, what we can learn from them, and what else we can offer them, from the City Hall side. We have Malden Public Schools, YMCA, some local businesses are interested in participating. We also got the support from Congresswoman Catherine Clark and some other representatives. So far we have an extensive lineup, for this town hall. The one thing is that this is for the Portuguese community. And a lot of these members are really hard-working parents. It's going to be hard. Wednesday nights, I already did, outreach in the community. Wednesday night can't be because they're working and then the school. So weekdays are really hard. Most of these community, they have Saturday and Sunday. And on Sunday, we have up to 500 people, visit their churches. They have the actual numbers, 400 to 500 people every Sunday. So I actually spoke to the pastor today, and we might be using their space and bring City Hall over there, and, would represent the departments. We are doing, we are translating all the outreach materials. So it's just a matter of deciding which Sunday we are going to do it. On that note, the next thing on the ad, the headset equipment, City Hall will own headset equipment, so we are buying that. So every time we have a meeting, whether it is a council meeting or outside or any park meeting, we will have that capability for the whole community. So that's a big, big win for us. We will own that. Let's see, so I have a lot. And I have notes for you for after because I'm throwing a lot at you. I have been participating in a lot of meetings, learning events, and promoting a lot of community partnerships. That's where I'm really, really learning a lot from the community. A lot of these partners have already conducted surveys, studies. They already have plans of doing outreach. And what we are doing is just putting our notes together and say, oh, this seems like, this seems to keep coming up. Let's do this, make this a priority and find solutions, matching up with our partners. So we can really start working, on, bringing the community together, and we are providing the language access for a lot of it, for a lot of those conversations. Some of the, so the whole idea with me sitting in a lot of these meetings is just to be able to understand what needs to be happening beyond translation, interpretation, city hall trainings, and what else is out there that we don't know. Some of the meetings will be, that I have been to, it's Language Access, the municipal network. They meet once a month, and this is the network from all United States, all the city halls, what they have been doing, what works for them. So we have all that information available to us. And I have been, just pulling from those and looking, just using them as solutions for us. The Racial Equity Commission, that's, another piece that really works hand in hand with language access, for our community. The Climate Action Plan initiatives, I have been supporting and part of them, just in implementing this language access. Community outreach events, I have been at, pretty much in the community Monday through Monday. If there is a party, I'm there, just, what is it? Who needs to understand, what is it that we are doing? And we are reframing the way we are bringing City Hall to the city. Language access roundtables by MAPC, Department of Justice, White House listening sessions. So anything that has to do with language access right now, it's very much out there because it's, as we are speaking, as we're doing this, we're creating the new policies. And everything that we are receiving in grants and, opportunities to do the language access is tied up to an ask. So for every grant that we have to offer language access. So it's for the benefit of all of us to understand what does it look like in our day-to-day. Everything that we do, grants, services, offerings. If we give a grant to a nonprofit, we have to ask them to provide that language access. On that note, I'm just creating a series of webinars, just sharing a lot of this information with our community and our nonprofit partners out there. So everybody has an idea of, oh, I have to start thinking about it. I have a scholarship, whatever they are offering, they also have to think of the community, and all these, top 6 languages and 60 in overall. Our next steps will be, just the interpretation equipment will be arriving soon, so that will be available for everything, and that will be a major part of the council meetings, going forward. And then exploring opportunities for investing in the community in the forms of maybe community English classes. We are, enhancing people's lives. So we are exploring, how that works on this language access plan and what we can do and, what's allowed to do with our grants. So that's pretty much where we are at, and that's a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a number of questions. Number of lights on here. So let me start with Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. Great presentation, Elena. You really are doing a tremendous amount of work. And I do like about sort of meeting the people where they are, like at the Portuguese, if you can do it with the church, and, you know, and that the things are really tailored. It's not the one size fits all, because really what people are looking for in the law office is a little different from the treasurer's office, and sort of kind of understanding how to move those through. I just really wanted more information on how exactly people access the multilingual telephone line. So would they, if someone asked me, do you call the 397-7000 and press a number? It's a totally other line based on?
It's a separate number.
Okay.
And actually, that information is on our city webpage. We have, if people go into services, language access, I have a page in there, and from there, people can print out a one page that, you know, has all the information, has the number, and it gives the prompt for dial 1 for this language, dial 2 for, you know, it has all the different prompts. And we have the PDFs in the different languages, so people can, you know, just download it from there.
So it's the same number, and they just get prompted to identify their language and their department that they would need to speak with?
No, it's just, you know, they dial the number for an interpreter, live interpreter. So somebody will answer in Cantonese, or somebody will answer in Vietnamese, and ask them, what can I help you with? And they will say, I need a vaccination. Then they will be transferred, the interpreter will transfer the person to the health department.
So does the interpreter stay online, you know,
Yes.
as they get, all right, so they're transferring themselves and the person to the health department?
They are
so
doing the interpretation live, or they will ask the health department, how would you like to handle these? If they say just take a number, and, you know, we have somebody who speaks Vietnamese, Cantonese, we'll call them back, then that's the interaction.
No, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you know the number offhand? I just might as well put it out there.
What was that?
What the number is, actually, someone might be able to.
I should know that number by heart, but as you can see,
Didn't mean
I'm
to put you on the
pretty easy.
spot, of course, but
You put it-
I just thought as we were
But
talking
yes,
about
yeah,
this,
but
might be.
if people go to the city page, Malden, cityofmalden.org/services
Services.
language access, you will see it right there.
Council McDonald
And I will request to
will
put
look
on
it
the
up and then
front.
say it when he gets to his turn.
Yeah.
So
I will do the request to put that in the front page.
it's still really a great job. A lot of work is being done. Congratulations. Thank you.
Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. So, thank you so much for all you do in the city. I see you at every event and meeting that I am at, and I know that there's more from there. So, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. So, I was going to ask if you can get that number on the front page of the city, because obviously if you don't know the language and where to look for it, you're not going to be able to find it. So that would be awesome. And the breakdown of data from the calls is so helpful. So thank you for taking a look at that. I know we went over a lot of information and data from the Community Advisory Board for CHA when they presented to the Equity Commission. So it sounds like a few of them were spot on from what they presented as being housing being a number one issue that people are asking about. Your language access data is saying the same thing. And if the Portuguese is the one most used, so I'm assuming that you're talking about the Brazilian church over on Salem. Okay.
Yes.
Because that is a great opportunity, and the fact that you've decided, or the group decided to go and meet people where they're at is good. Because I know I had asked that question before, and the thought was trying to bring people so that they got used to City Hall, but anyone who's worked with groups and marginalized groups knows that that's much harder to do. So I'm really happy that that change was made. And the site, and get the number, I'm gonna blast that out too, because that's tremendous. Like, people don't know about that. And the fact that, what Councilor Crowe was saying, that they're transferred together to wherever they're going is just fantastic. So the other question might be more to Council President Murphy. So I had asked for you to come before us to give us updates, but you already provided them, so I'm assuming, is this it? Could we take her off? I can't imagine she's gonna go twice.
This is it.
This is it, okay, because it didn't say sponsored on it, because usually it says the name, so thank you so much. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that,
Oh,
yeah.
Council
Okay, so there is a
President,
paper out there
sponsors
that I did, so
attached to the paper,
take that
yes.
off. If this is it, great.
Yes.
Okay, so this is perfect, and thank you for coming and, yeah, and presenting an update. This is awesome. Thank you. Can't hear enough of it.
Thank you. Councilor Linehan?
Thank you, Madam President. Elena, thank you so much. That was a wonderful, I could have heard so much, I know you had probably a ton more to say. I could have listened about language access all evening because it's so important. I would echo what some of my colleagues have said around, I love hearing that you're going to where the community is at a day and time that works for that community. I think having you here is really the reason that we're able to do that. When you don't have all the resources, you know, we don't have somebody that's really speaking to the community and figuring out kind of what works best for them. And having been at the first town hall, I saw great turnout, really high engagement, and like questions that you wouldn't necessarily have thought would come up, but are so important for all of us to hear. So I would just thank you for continuing with that. And you know, I'm thinking back to sort of early in the pandemic when we were trying to get stood up these housing resources and not having data. We all knew that we were hearing from constituents, you know, but not all of us speak more than one language, and not being able to actually have data that shows there is a really dire need to get those things in place faster and to say, no, really, this is the most dire problem that we're facing. I think we're so much better positioned now to be able to make decisions grounded in data, thanks to all the groundwork that you're laying, so thank you for that. And I guess my one question would be just, what do you foresee, in addition to some of the things you laid out in terms of the interpretation and having the headsets here, which is fantastic, do you think there are things that we can do to support you, or are there things that you anticipate needing this year that might have a funding ask attached, or just things that we can support you with that would be helpful for us to know about now and start thinking about now?
Ms. Martinez, could you hold on 1 second? There you go.
One of the things is, you know, in response to your question, is partnering with each one of the ward counselors. And it's not going to be, you know, the magnitude of a town hall, but when you are meeting in your ward, you know, we just may make some of these questions and interactions. So we learn what, you know, each particular area and neighborhood needs. And we can just keep the, you know, that data in, you know, as part of, you know, what we're working with. And also, you know, all of this information will be, you know, we are creating, as I'm gathering all of these, everything is available. So we have a data folder where if you're planning for your constituents, you can see, you know, who's there, what do they need, what questions have they asked, so you can make your outreach based on that. So that's, you know, I'm creating this so you can do, you know, a good outreach, and, you know, just you continue that work that we're creating in-house. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald.
Elena, it's just such a treat to hear about all of the work. I can't believe we've accomplished so much in the last year, just one, not even a full year with you in this position. So, so much appreciation. You've been a great partner, and in so many of these ways. And Councilor Crowe did come up with the phone number. So it is 617-865-2273. And I love the idea to get it on the homepage, prominently displayed. And I wanted to also appreciate Representative Altrino, who I worked with him to sponsor this earmark in the state budget this year that is part of what we're using to pay for these headsets. And Elena, you rustled them up from like 3 different cities for the Chinese language town hall. So to have those in-house and be able to make sure that they're taken care of is a huge asset for the city. The question I wanted to ask you is about, you know, a lot of what we've been doing is laying the foundation, you know, basic information, translated forms, the ability to talk to someone, get basic overviews of city services, which is what these town halls are, and community partners. And I think there's a layer, the next layer above that is about helping people to really engage in the civic life and decision-making of the city. So like when we're talking about the climate action planning, you know, those are, there we're trying to do outreach to engage people in a conversation about where that intersects with their lives. And that, you know, that takes a lot. You have to have a foundation of relationship and skill. And one thing that you talk a lot about that I very much support is plain language. And when I think about what it would take to help people access what happens at this table, that's the phrase that comes to mind, and how essential that is. So could you talk about what plain language and its intersection with language access and translation overall?
Yes, plain language, you know, nowadays, if you go to the government pages, it says it's not an option now, it's the law. So plain language becomes the law. One of the reasons that we have been translating a lot of documents as needed, and some of them, we just need to rewrite them, or we need to write a summary in order to make them plain language. And there is the 2010, you know, Plain Writing Act that was signed into law, and that's what it means. Some things are not, the way they are written, they do not translate well. So it doesn't mean what you're really trying to say that this form needs. And a lot of other cultures, they have never experienced anything like it. So it's in our benefit to just take the time and, you know, just do a summary. It's okay. The Plain Writing Act allows you to summarize a 23-page form that somebody needs to sign. And just say it's one page. I need you to do ABC, I need you to provide me ABC, and this is how I help you before you sign in the dotted line. That is what the plain writing law says. You know, it is the law right now. And in order for me to say, yes, your department, your project, your grant is in compliance, I need to help you, you know, learn that. I need to help you summarize that, and that's why my department is open. You know, it's just, I'm just a partner in your daily life, you know, just to accomplish that. And, you know, on that note, I met somebody who does plain writing, so we have a freelancer. So I'm trying to figure out if we are going to do a webinar, and then you can all watch it, you know, just and learn and ask questions, or if we will have the person come in and, but yes, I met somebody who's going to be helping us, you know, do that before we do the massive amounts of translation that nobody understands what it is and use.
Well, I just really appreciate that. I'd love for us to work more on this. Like we were working on this on the Climate Action Plan Steering Committee of like a lot of the talk about climate change is like a lot of scientific terminology, you know, a lot of reference points to net zero or the Paris Accords that like people don't understand in English, right? So if you're gonna translate it, then you have to have it be translatable words, frankly. And it has to make sense on just a conversational level. So I'm excited to get more into that with you, and I appreciate you being an advocate for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, Elena, thanks for all your hard work and the great update here. I mean, I definitely really want to echo what Councilor McDonald talked about of, as we, work on transportation things. I know in Maplewood Square, we're looking at that. Housing, all these decisions we make as a council to make sure that we as we're planning are getting the engagement of our, the broadest amount of the community we can is so critical. So I really think that's something, like, I think I've talked to you a little bit about of how we as counselors can understand how to connect in, and I think it really, one of the things I know as people have talked about is like meeting people where there are is really critical, and then making sure the language is really critical so that it's hard to get people out to a 7 o'clock meeting at City Hall, but if you're meeting them where they're at, that's a huge step as we go forward. But it's also the commitment of resources. So that's great. We have you on board, and I'm willing to. I know the TDM Church is just outside of Maplewood Square, so definitely would love to be involved in that, planning for the Portuguese Town Hall, and just try to make sure we get the word out. I mean, I know, for our Maplewood Square survey, we had that translated into, 6 different languages plus English. And, we just got a handful of responses in other languages. So that just tells me that, translation is one step to getting full community engagement. So that's the type of thing we have to do more. And knowing that we're looking at climate change and our bus network redesign. I think you all got the email tonight about bus fare stations going up in the city. These are all things that particularly impact people who may not be are strong English speakers or English speakers at all. So that's the type of thing we're being called on to shape our community, and we need as much information as we can. So appreciate that, and we'll continue to work. It's a never-ending battle. I think that's the other thing. So we have to, our community changes, we always have to adapt, and so that's what we need to think of, but we have to put the time and resources to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that I remember when you started, I think we started around the same time, and we were both like wandering around upstairs, kind of lost a little bit. And it's just a year later, like you're saying, and I like what I'm hearing. You're a shaker and a mover. You're getting a lot of things done. I'm in City Hall a lot, popping in and out during the day, and I see you always working. So I just think you're doing a great job, and I'd like to, my neighborhood, as you know, is has a lot of mixed languages, and campaigning too is. I had a couple of interpreters when I went campaigning, but sometimes you can't. You're by yourself. So even when we do like things like the 4th of July and those type of events, like that would be a real good time, I think, to like communicate with the neighborhood as a whole, because those are the things that I've been trying to do, is do those things, and I know that Council Lanahan does things with the porch concerts, right? The people with the concert, and those events, and all of us do like the 4th of July and other events like that. And I know that my neighborhood would probably benefit from that. So what would I have to do to try and plan that? Are there people available on like these holidays and stuff like that, because it's not like a regular work week? Or how do we do that? That we could set up a table. I mean, so people that don't speak the language can come over and, get like when the races start in their language, so their kids can play, So how do we do that?
Okay, well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the points, like I said, I have a lot. So there's an app for that. So,
Oh, yeah, that's another language for me.
yes, we have, actually, we have the Language Ambassador Program.
Okay.
And that was an initiative that we just started in January, with 3 volunteers. And they have been out there going to different events, to different activities in the city, and just observing. And we have conversations as a way of feedback, not known. There's no judgment on any interaction. So I've just been taking notes and just getting ideas of how will this work? How can we create a program where we have the bilingual community members participate and have a little bit of ownership of these interactions. So this is the Language Ambassador Programs. We started, as I said, with 3 volunteers, gather the information. I have been for the last month, just reviewing all those interactions and looking at different programs around the country and what do they have. A lot of the programs, they train these volunteers. Every department will contribute, a basics, of what they do, what they offer, what are the opportunities for the community members. So these volunteers will learn everything about City Hall. So they get the training, and they have certain requirements. Participate in the 4th of July, or participate in the Maplewood, surveying. So they will sign up for different activities, with each one of the 11, seats in, departments. And at the end of that, we will have a stipend. And the stipend could be when you finish your first, training, when you do your participation. So it's, and
So that's a program that's operational at the moment?
it is operational,
Oh.
still hiring, and, like I said, I've been busy, and, right now, we need to get all of this information. Everything has already the guidelines and how it works and the whys and the answers to your questions. So we can find a lot of that. That's the research and the work that I've been doing. So now we are ready to partner. You can come into my office and work with me anytime so we can start working and recruiting people to participate in those. We also, I have to pull a call to the departments, and maybe that will be one of the asks for the liaisons for, between each department and the language access, just to provide, that little training material for the language ambassadors. So there's a lot of work, a lot of things going
I
on.
think I
but
have
that's-
some in my neighborhood now that would volunteer, some of the people that help me. So I was thinking maybe like, maybe setting up a table and, however you think that we should do it. I mean, and let people know at the beginning of the event that, we do have people that, speak the language of the 6 or 7 different languages that, we think are the highest in that neighborhood, let's just say,
Yes.
right? And I think that would help out a lot of confusion too, and I think it's just being more of a welcoming neighbor by providing that service. So I'd like to pioneer that this year for the 4th of July. So maybe I can, get a couple of volunteers and come in your office, and maybe we won't get all of the languages that we're trying to look for, because volunteers are hard to get sometimes too, especially on the holidays. But if we can hit the top 3, we'll be doing a great justice for the folks down in my neighborhood anyway, So I'd like to do that. And again, I appreciate all the hard work you're doing, so I'll be giving you a call probably around May or something, and maybe we can implement that and just get a table there, just like we get a table of people registering to vote, same type of thing. And I think if the people know that you're there, they'll know where to go to get help, and, when the 5-year-olds are getting ready to run the race, right?
Yes.
So, thank you, I appreciate your work.
Thank you, Councilor
Thank you,
Simonelli.
Council
Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you, Ms. Martinez, for this. It's great. I know that one of the first ways that we interacted when you started here was me referring Eric He, who I think is one of our first language ambassadors. He's a local Ward 4 guy. He saw some intercultural tension in the community and wanted to get involved to help kind of ease that, and he's been really helpful in terms of being able to bridge communities in our community. So it's really great to have that. Local grown, so I'm sure there's plenty of people in Ward 7 and other wards who have skill sets that can participate.
I might have to steal them for you, so.
Absolutely. Well, and then in terms of plain language, yeah, I think that, even just me, I'm glad happy that Councilor McDonald brought up plain language, because, reading some of those whereases, and therefores, it can be tough in English. So I can only imagine what it's like, if having to translate it and try to understand it. So I think that kind of is a reason for us to all be brief when we can be, which I might not be right now.
It's all right, Ryan, go ahead, let it out.
You're actually doing well.
It's your turn.
And, and then lastly, I know that another thing that is really important to me, Councilor Colon-Hayes and others, is, language access here in City Hall, and kind of using City Hall as kind of like a life-size Rosetta Stone. I do believe the Municipal Building Committee, which Councilor Murphy and Councilor Spadafora, as well as many others, serve on. I think we set aside $10,000 to do some language access here in City Hall, whether that's signage. So it would definitely be something to reach out to Ron Hogan. You might be able to tap into that $10,000. I know that one of the main things was really kind of coming up with a language access plan and picking the languages. It sounds like we have done that. And if we wanted to actually implement the multilingual signage in City Hall, this might be the perfect opportunity. If you need partners, I'm sure Councilor Spadafora, Murphy, and the rest of us would be here to help.
Excellent, thank you.
And thank you for your
Yes,
service.
Now that we know, what we need to offer, then we can start doing the solutions like that, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. And from the chair, I'm not going to repeat everything everyone said. I agreed with everything everyone said. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, Elena. I think over the last few weeks, I've called you the missing link a number of times. You know, it's amazing sitting in a meeting with you and seeing how you can actually pull everything together and how the knowledge that you have of what's going on in the city and the data that you have at your disposal is really impressive. So I know that you're going to lead us down the road in good stead. And one of the things that actually, I think it was might have been Councilor Linehan or Councilor Spatafora brought up, one of the things that was in my mind when you were talking about sharing information with the departments, in my mind, I'm saying, what about sharing information with the ward counselors? Because as you are getting this data in, you know, it's important for us to know if there's groups of folks in our ward that are looking for services that we don't know are there. So I think I did hear you say that you're creating folders for us, is that correct?
We have, and actually that's a conversation I had started with IT a while back, you know, just how are we going to be able to host all this information, you know, the templates, the rules, the regulations we find, and the laws that apply to language access. You know, I can go and train the department, but every time we onboard someone, they have to go through that. So we can continue and we can always be in compliance. So that will be a, you know, conversation that, you know, we need to continue just to see where we host all of these as a language access dashboard. I have seen a lot of cities, they have you know, you must log into that, and then you will have trainings, movies, links, and, you know, all of that at your disposal. Everybody under City Hall.
If we just take it back to a smaller level just for a quick second, so let's just talk about the data that's being collected through the online translation service. So is that something where you're actually getting address information so that it could then be broken down by ward, so that we would know that we have a segment of population in our ward that is in need of housing, or is in need of jobs, or is in need of food, or, you know, I mean, because that's kind of some of the information that we as a ward councilor would be interested in. Not saying you have to explain it all tonight, but that's something I would like to continue a conversation with you on, because I think that would be helpful to all of us to, you know, maybe have a little more information as to segments of the population that we're not seeing on a daily basis, or aren't communicating with us on a daily basis.
Yes.
So having said all that, thank you. We're thrilled to have you here this year. As Councilor McDonald said, has been really just, you know, full of moving forward into a new dimension, so to speak. And we're looking forward to more updates. Please don't hesitate to, you know, give us a call and say you'd like to come in and tell us something else that you're doing, because we want to stay involved with everything that you are doing to help our constituency. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Director of IT, Anthony Rodrigues, will appear before the City Council to give an update on the cyber attack.
Mr. Rodrigues, thank you very much. If you
Good evening. Pardon my voice, I'm getting over a cold, like most of us.
Yes, absolutely. A little froggy myself, so anyway, please, you have the floor on the podium.
I'm here to basically give you a synopsis of what occurred. Unfortunately, we were the target of a very focused attack. And basically, I'm going to give you a brief outline of how these attacks happen, the anatomy of them. This was a focused attack and very much a potential ransomware attack. It did not come to full fruition. We managed to actually get in front of it and thwart that. But they're wildly complicated, and they do have a massive organization, and it's well-funded, and they do have a set methodology that they go through. Reconnaissance, social aspects of human factors, going through and weaponizing tools, security tools, which is one of the things that happened to us. Delivery can happen in many different ways, through all of the training that we've done for fishing expeditions, for clicking on the wrong thing. It can be that simple sometimes. And essentially, with an attack like this, the command and control is the scariest thing, because once they actually get inside and potentially drop these time bombs, that's when all of your data becomes encrypted, all of your systems become encrypted, and it's probably the worst day you can imagine. So, knock on wood, that did not happen. When this all went down, this is, like I said, operating outside of the US. It's an active investigation still. We know that there was the weaponizing of certain security tools that are commonplace within the industry. Makes it very difficult to have to discern between legitimate traffic and malicious traffic. It originated from both probably two attack windows that we call them, or attack vectors. One was very much probably a click on a wrong site that managed to get through on a desktop, disable some of the security features on that desktop, and as well as from the information that they got from that, they started probing our firewall and coming in and seeing what kind of data was going back and forth between maybe some internal systems and external systems. As soon as this happened, we luckily have in our arsenal, we have artificial intelligence software that monitors our network in real time. Some of these attacks, they look a lot like what a common systems administrator would be doing in the very course of the day, like remoting into somebody's desktop to help them out with a problem that they're having. And the artificial intelligence software, the benefit of that is it can see things that are anomalies that humans can't do in real time. And as soon as this happened, we terminated all of the access throughout the system, and at that point started backing up and looking at what we were actually dealing with. My staff, we were working 24 hours a day in some cases. We luckily reached out to the Malden Police Department, and Malden Police Department has resources that are permanently attached to the FBI. So we reached out to the FBI affiliate that works for the Malden Police Department, and we amassed our vendors together in one forensic team, and state police, FBI Cyber Division, Secret Service Cyber Division, Global Data Systems, Blue Spruce Technologies, and Syncilla, which is our artificial intelligence software. We brought all of these resources to bear to try to figure out what we're dealing with and how we can reclamate and get back in business. Part of what we do is, obviously, we follow the plan, which is we have data breach, we have to have that detection and react to it very quickly. Take urgent response. When these things happen, you have to hit the ground running. You can't, time is of a factor. You have to clip off the entire network, because you can't allow these things to speak and communicate with resources that are on the outside. That's your biggest danger. Gather and maintain the evidence, which is critical. Some of these attacks are not just programs that lie on a disk someplace. Sometimes they're embedded in memory. Very difficult to find, and you need very specialized forensic tools to actually look at them and analyze them. That's where the benefit of having resources in law enforcement at multiple levels is invaluable, because they come in with tools that are just not available to the general public or the industry in some cases. Then from there, we have to set up what's called a kill zone. We have to confine, contain, eradicate, and figure out if any of the systems that have been potentially breached are intact, functional. We were very good in doing that. My staff went through, we locked down all the servers, all the desktops immediately, and then we start looking for signatures, and we do that with our vendors. So this is a long process of going through. At the same time, our main focus is to make sure that we have our business functions intact. Payroll, finances, all of our operations internally. So in the middle of doing all this containment and lockdown, you have to be able to continue business. None of our systems were compromised to the point where we weren't allowed to do business. The reason we were offline, quite frankly, was because of me. I had to make sure that everything was clean enough to open up to the internet, because we have a lot of business processes that go out into the internet. Banking, working with the other department heads, changing, potential passwords for everything. Even though those systems may not have been touched, the protocol is everything changes. You have to just consider everything is done and start from scratch. So that's what we did. And at no time did we ever miss a beat in terms of purchasing, payroll, and all of the other functions that tend to go unnoticed a lot around here. Unfortunately, after a little bit of data searching, we did see that some potential files were touched. And as soon as that happened, we have to actually follow the rules which are laid out by the state of Massachusetts. There were some social security numbers that were affected, potentially revealed. So we follow the playlist and we report to the state. We follow Mass General Law 93H. And in the case of social security numbers, you have to provide credit monitoring and the like. After that, now we talk about post-incident processing. Sorry. The system hardening, making sure that we have additional countermeasures in place, looking at the way that they attacked, figuring that out, trying to make sure that all of the holes are plugged. It's very much a whack-a-mole type of situation. They are, again, well-funded. The attacks are wildly complicated, and it takes a lot to get in front of them. And we do our due diligence in that sense. We have, when it starts with reconnaissance and phishing emails, we have spam filters that block out a lot of that, but signatures change on a daily basis, so some stuff can potentially get through. Weaponizing, when somebody clicks on it, we have web filters, but people need to get to places, and sometimes there are websites that look legitimate that don't get on flagged lists, so that's a very difficult. There's always ways to get through the armor that we set up. Delivery, intrusion detection, we have that. Some of these attacks will actually go through as soon as they get in and try to disable the things that are looking for them. And they're very, very good at it, despite how much we try to stay in front of it. And our virus detection, we have virus detection at every level. But again, sometimes the definitions change at such a rapid pace, staying in front of them is a challenge. The biggest line of defense, again, is the artificial intelligence. That stuff is a game changer because it can react to things quicker than humans can. You have to teach it a little bit because it's kind of like a really intelligent 5-year-old with an IQ of 2,000. But it's a very powerful tool to have, because if it gets past that point and you find yourself in a situation where you do have a ransom and encryption situation, you better have really good backups. And we do have that. We have what's called inverse chain technology, which is a very state-of-the-art way of taking backups and snapshots, so that when something like this does happen, you can go back to a time window before the event occurred and basically reset that time. Some of these exploits, when they come in, they go unnoticed for months. So over the course of months, your backups now contain the very payloads that they seeded into your operation. This happens all the time. So you have to make sure that it's never getting out. You have to make sure it never gets in the first place. And if it is in there, you have to scrub and protect the access to the outside world. Like I was saying before, we closed the network down. We opened up processes, literally in manual form in some cases, because when we're opening up a transfer or allowing a system to connect to the internet, we have to watch it, not only from the inside, but all the security vendors have to watch the traffic like hawks to see if anything is anomalous. It takes a great deal of time to go through these systems and make sure that they're clean and scrubbed. Unfortunately, some of the statistics, there's been roughly 422 million people that have been the victim of this. 66% of the notices don't even go out to people. They're unknown. I myself have received 3 of them, one from AT&T, one from T-Mobile. they're all over the place. The statistics are frightening. This happens even more so since 2000 after COVID, when everyone basically got cast to the wind to go home to work. Now you got a bunch of people that are working on home, computers that don't have anywhere near the level of protection that we have. The state of Massachusetts, currently, we have over 5,271,000 in change compromises to residents of the state of Massachusetts alone. Currently, in the last 3 months, we're at about 77,000, and if we're on track with the current trend, there'll probably be 2.5 coming down the pipe, despite everyone's best efforts. It's a huge problem, and we're trying to fight it as best we can. And hopefully a lot of the questions will now be, what's next? For us, we have to continue our infrastructure investments, standardization, consolidation of networks, management, security systems. We have to push out what works throughout the entire organization. Increased network monitoring and defense tech. They keep getting better, so we have to try to keep pace with that the best we can. We have to start doing annual penetration testing, platform upgrades, expanded perimeter services, monitoring, ramping up all of this. We can do better, but we have to really make a combined effort all together to get behind this. We're all on the same team here. This is our business. We have to start with the expansion of data screening too. Encryption systems, email encryption, data stores. We're working right now putting together an intranet platform based on Office 365. And in that, there will be some expanded Office 365 tools that will go through and not only help with translation and document storage management and the like, but also will be scanning in real time for anything that could look like a potential compromising piece of data. Flag that and make sure that we're all aware of where that stuff is, because sometimes there will be departments that will create documents that they find to be helpful. Well, sometimes the data contained within cannot be, if it can get into the wrong hands. And staff, IT staff, we could always use more help. We're outgunned as it is, but we do the best we can. We've been doing mandatory kind of end user security training. You've seen them, you've taken them. A lot of you have taken them, and I've seen you. And I appreciate that, but we have to be much more diligent in how we train our end users. Again, it's a simple click sometimes. A lot of these attacks are based on human factors, so finding out somebody that works in a department, acting like you're somebody from a legitimate corporation or a bank and asking them, or acting as their boss saying, I need you to transfer this money to this account. I don't have access, I'm on vacation or whatever. And they'll go and they'll look at your Facebook and they'll see that this individual actually is in Aruba, so the story sounds good. And you can see people do this all the time because they want to do a good job. They think that they use that as a motivating factor to get around this stuff. So we have to do more in terms of the training. We've managed to do, okay with this. I keep referencing Sensilla. So I'm going to introduce you to Sensilla. This is what Sensilla looks like. Every node that you see here is basically a point on our network. So this software is looking in real time at every single digital communication that is happening across the network to all of these endpoints. So if you wanted to see it in various forms, we can say, okay, we can look at this in a little bit more of a complicated view, where we'll see how all of the servers connect all of these instances. If there was something that was going on that we wanted to see, this would be a sample of what would look like. you would immediately see anomalous traffic that's going where it shouldn't be going. That's what basically alerted us, because during this attack, when it's one person or an individual trying to get around in the network, it can look normal, it can look like a human. When they go and they transfer and they change that attack, and they now just like, okay, now we're in, it's a business. They do this, they want to go off, they want to find as much as they can as quickly as they can. That's when this goes, whoa, you have a problem. Start shutting things down automatically. It reacts quicker than you can, a human can. And it's one of the things that actually saved us. We're probably one of the few cities in Massachusetts that's running this software. I worked very closely with Blue Spruce Technology. Two of the founders created this software, and we started using it and testing it, and now it's ready for prime time, and it's proven itself. It was money well spent. This is one of the things that's going to keep us moving forward. I'd like to see this expanded to all of the platforms throughout the city. And again, this is all of the data that was basically presented. It's frightening. There's just a litany of data that's going out the door. It's an epidemic. So we do the best we can. And part of the letter that had gone out to the public was based on, we use common language. That this was one of the notices that was sent out by the Department of Revenue for one of their breaches. It's a standard legal boilerplate that we use. And we follow the process that, all of the cities and towns and state agencies that have unfortunately found themselves in our situation, we provide the 24-month monitoring of data and people's security and their individual information. I know that was a lot to digest, but I am willing to answer any questions and all questions. And it is actively still an investigation at this point, but we are getting closer. We know that it definitely wasn't a nation-funded type operation. These are well-funded people. This is not some kid in his basement. These are nation-funded actors in some cases.
Shut myself off. As you might expect, Mr. Rodrigues, there's a number of lights. So I am going to start with the first one, and that is Councilor Colon-Hayes.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you so much. That was very helpful, even though some of it's like over the head, but it really lets us know how much work was put into that. And Steve Pham, I want to give you a shout out too, and the rest of your department for all the work.
Jamie Whelan.
Jamie, of course,
Drew Martin.
absolutely, yes. Drew,
Crystal.
thank you.
Everybody. I mean, this was an all-hands-on-deck kind
Right.
of situation, and everybody pulled forward.
No, so thank you. And then I have reached out to you a couple of times, and because I unfortunately was one of the people who received that letter.
So was my wife.
I had a lot of questions, so I just wanted to make sure that the people, anybody listening here, that they might have the same questions, that I'm going to ask you the stuff that I've already asked you, if you could just explain it again. So one of the things, when I was reading the letter that I got, it said, at this time, the city's not aware of any information suggesting that your information was, it could be, if you could just explain exactly what you meant, because I called to ask, and that's the standard language that we're talking about, because the first, I'm like, how would they know that? How would they know that our data wasn't breached? So if you could just speak a little to that.
Because we don't.
No.
We know that data may have been touched and may have migrated out of our possession, but we don't have any, we're not aware of any of it being used in any kind of identity theft or fraud at this point.
But you're still following, it's active, as you said, so it may or may not come up, but thank you for continuing to look into it. I did get a few numbers of how many, I'm not sure if that's public, so I won't put that out there, but there was quite a few people who received this letter. And also, just a thank you to putting out, whoever put that letter out gave numbers that we could call so that we can have our data protected, and,
Absolutely.
which I will be doing, so that was great and very helpful. And then I got it in English, I'm assuming because someone knew I spoke English, but was it translated, going out, is anything, like, was that done if, to people who may or may not speak English, that their data may have been breached, so.
It's a very good question. I'm not aware of that.
Okay, so that was one, and then the trainings, I have taken some of those trainings, so thank you. It really does go into detail about how how easy it could happen. You feel like silly that it could happen to you, but it's really not. They're very, very good at it, at what they do. And the seniors, I'm really always thinking about our senior citizens and how easy it is to, you know, have senior abuse and have that come in. So thank you for those trainings, and I'm going to reach out to the senior center, who Mike, I know that he's already done some trainings, but if there could be even more, that would be great, because some of those quizzes.
It helps not only in our business lives, but in our personal lives.
Absolutely,
Because
no, absolutely.
it's quite,
Yeah,
quite
how to
something.
read, they make it look so close to the real information or some kind of website that if you're not really paying attention, it looks real.
And again, the amount of information that people can garner through social media, through all of these things,
right.
and very simple web, surfing, they can find out information, and they actually can sound legitimate
Right.
and really convincing.
Yeah, so,
And-
thank you, and then I'll follow up if something, just check on the language act.
Yes, I read that.
Elena's right here, so that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Winslow, we have everyone's light is on, so if everyone could kind of be as brief in their question as possible, that would be great. Councilor Winslow?
Yeah, again, thanks for all the hard work of your team. I mean, I can understand just how, much work it took and how much intensity that takes. And to know that you're doing this day in, day out, watching over our city and this important role. So thank you so much. And of course, it's great to know that we had invested the resources so we could get this cutting technology. So I'm sure the mayor and all the council will continue to be very open. So make sure that you keep us apprised of what you really think we need to continue to be on the cutting edge. And I know it's going to be all the more the challenge, because it's, the way always this stuff works is, we got the special tool AI. That means someone on the outside is going to be using it against us. So it's always that type of thing. So it makes it so challenging. But it's great to know that we were able to catch it before it did a lot of damage, and we didn't get into a ransomware situation or that type of thing. It sounded like we
During that
we did-
same window,
yeah.
there were multiple attacks throughout the state.
Yeah.
And some people were not as fortunate.
Yeah, so it's great work, both the foresight and as well as the hard work to, recover. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Linehan?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much for that overview. I know a lot of us have been very eager to understand more, and you've been great talking to us individually to help us understand what happened, to talk to constituents, or to just be able to use the right terminology, because I know we don't want to sort of stoke fear or have misunderstandings. But I do want to just recognize also that I think you are doing a great job at keeping the city really at the forefront of things that other public entities have not been as fortunate. You sort of alluded to that a little bit. I know from working on the state side, this is a huge problem for state agencies and quasis. There's, I think, a sensitivity of information, right, that the public sector handles, and not everybody is as up to date with their trainings and their redundancy and just security, basically. And so it's easy to exploit, and I think the community needs to hear that we are doing better than a lot of public entities are, and you deserve a lot of credit for that. And I guess, one of the things that I'm nervous about, I know like public sector IT staff, there's a high churn rate. This is one of the reasons why. I know that a lot of what we do as counselors and what a lot of our city staff do is susceptible to phishing, because it's tied to engagement, events, things where you're buying gift cards last minute, or, collaborating in a casual email and just saying something, just fast and dashing it off. And it's so easy to replicate using somebody's nickname and sounding like what we've said before. And so I guess my that's both a warning, because I've seen colleagues at work get targeted by that exact type of thing, like you've got an event coming up, it's all hands, and somebody uses, you know, the casual name that you don't necessarily have on the agency website or the city website, and it really looks like you. But also just a question about how can city staff do more than kind of the online do-it-yourself trainings? Like, what can we do to make sure that our staff are getting the message that, you know, this is what it's going to potentially look like, and this is how you can protect yourself? What more can we do on that front?
Well, luckily, we submitted for all of the training from the state. So the state actually uses a couple of our vendors in terms of perimeter screening for information or email that's coming in through our system. So the state, that training that was available to everybody was from a grant. So we basically submit to that. We've gotten it last 3 years in a row. But I would like to see more personalized training, having maybe, you know, lunch round tables with the staff internally, bringing somebody in, having guest speakers, having a person alive in front of you sometimes
Right.
with some real world analogies and stories is really helpful. So hopefully we can do some of that moving forward.
I think that's great, that human piece feels so important. Anything we can do to
It's the
support that.
hardest, it's the hardest piece is the human.
Right, yep. And I think you'd be surprised that the people that are susceptible to it are folks that you would think are pretty savvy about stuff. And really, all of us are vulnerable. And I just, you know, having been through this.
It's been really well taken and well received
Good.
within the building. The staff has been really good about it.
I think it's also important because we are moving in a direction where we want to do, you know, more virtual meetings, and there's storage of that. There's online bill pay that people are expecting us to provide. Even something like the body-worn cameras for the police, there's a storage element to that. These are all things that are so mission critical for the city, but there's a component to it that we need to be really on the ball to make sure that we can still provide those services, but also be secure.
Absolutely, as well as having the capacity for that kind of information. There's a lot of initiatives in City Hall right now for scanning and going, you know, digital. That all has to go someplace. That all has to go someplace. It needs to be stored. It needs to be, you know, kept in an air-gapped kind of backup situation where it's always available. We have to then conform to records retention laws for different documents, for different data points, for email. There's a lot to it. But we're in really good place right now in terms of, especially our storage footprint. I won't say how big it is, but we have a lot of storage.
Well, thank you for that. I know there's other
No problem.
questions.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I know all my colleagues are kind of like saying, so what are you really going to say about this? You don't know much about this stuff here. But I will say, it was a great job by you and your staff to catch it like you did and put it in halt. I mean, I know it's like someone breaking in your house and stealing all your stuff as far as them trying to, that's my analogy for this.
It's a great analogy. Imagine you come home, you know somebody's been in your house, but it hasn't been ransacked.
Right.
But you know they've been there. So you literally have to go through everything to figure out if something's missing.
Right. And someone like me who's not savvy at all and hardly ever go on those things and let my kids do it all, it kind of scares me even to even do it even more, you know, because all your information is out there, and I'm kind of an old school guy, so. But, you know, I do, you know, take my hat off to you because I know that was a troublesome thing, and I know by watching the news media and hearing about people stealing people's information and ruining their lives could be a terrible thing. So, yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys catching that real quick. I did have a question, though, on the Social Security numbers that, you know, were revealed. Do you guys notify, though, obviously, it's probably a simple question, you notify the people that they're...
Absolutely.
All right. And then you stand by them with the monitoring system with their credit and make sure that, and then what happens if that starts to get used, like if they do,
You have insurance, but this policy that we're sending out to people, there's $1 million
yeah?
worth of
Really?
personal identity protection.
That's good, okay. So
This
you guys
this was a mandated thing at the state level.
Yeah,
They wanted to make sure that if this was ever to happen, that residents of Massachusetts were protected appropriately.
yeah, all right. Great job.
Thank you, Councilor
Appreciate
Simonelli. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you very much. And yes, I want to echo Councilor Simonelli. Thank you for your team and those days. I hope that your team is getting paid the overtime it deserves for those hours. I think it's important to pay people for the work. I don't know if that needs to be a budget transfer, but I want to make sure that your staff is paid adequately. Councilor Murphy and you were really transparent and like kept us up to date when this was going on, and I do appreciate that. I think that, you know, taking the time to go through everything was the right thing. You know, I don't think that speed was of the essence here. It was really making sure that we limited the exposure, so I think that that was the right move, and I appreciate you taking the time and realizing that.
I appreciate it.
In terms of the data breach in the personnel data that was compromised, was it limited to employees primarily?
Yes.
And then, without revealing any?
Only a very small segment, though.
Okay, and then, again, I guess it's open, I can ask you offline more on that. And you were able to, you said it was like a bad click potentially, you were able to kind of pinpoint the machine specifically? Okay,
The attacks came from within, and then they basically start from the outside.
okay.
So they do kind of this, and they meet in the middle.
And then, do any of like the services that we have, not necessarily the ones that helped us catch it, but maybe like our antivirus or anything, do any of those like help with like recouping the cost? Do they have any guarantees? Or it's just kind of like the fact that it did impact us and we have incurred additional costs, do any of the providers that we have like a guarantee that we might be able
No.
to recoup? Okay,
No, but I think our overall exposure was very minimal in
Great.
terms of, and as far as the business cost, in terms of we were slowed down, but again, basically because we were just trying to be immensely thorough. It was pretty much the IT equivalent of a really bad winter storm.
great. The only other question I had is whether or not, like going forward, there's any maybe outdated systems that maybe are security threats that we should be eliminating. I know we have a lot of legacy systems. I know, for instance, I've always found it odd that we have at least 5 different email systems. We have the city one, we have school, police, fire, MRA. And since that seems to be the primary entry for a lot of this, would it help if we consolidated that into just one?
MRA has been absorbed into my operation, but they collapsed into the city, so they're no longer a separate entity. Police and fire are isolated in law enforcement, so they have that kind of gap there. And they run on the same platforms that we do. The school department uses primarily Google products.
Okay.
Gmail, Classroom, the G Suite for all the Chromebooks. We run over 7,000 wireless Chromebooks in the school department. So that email system, in terms of consolidation of platforms, we've done a lot of work over the last 5 years, making sure that all the network fabric, all the network gear, I can see every packet going across the school department. Not so much the fire and police, because public safety is a kind of a different animal. But we've standardized all of our switch and vendor management across the entire enterprise. We're constantly making upgrades. We'll be doing a significant wireless upgrade throughout the school district this year with the E-rate funds that we're getting. So in that sense, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to make sure that we're kind of expanding some of this footprint outside in the scanning. The legacy systems that you're talking about, one of the difficulties we have is there are platforms, dedicated proprietary software that if I was to keep everything up to date as much as I should, it'll break the software because the vendor hasn't moved their software process through the development stage. So there's always a little bit of a lag there. So that's one of the challenges that we deal with, making sure that we have to, nudge our vendors and say, if this isn't, state of the art, it's time to, step up and we got to move forward. So we do a lot of that.
Very good. I think that, this is the year to ask for the resources that you need. You have, I think, everyone here's support, when the budget season comes up, whether that's more staff, whether that is more resources in any other way. I think that, with something like this going on, you have our attention, and we want to make sure that we are ready for the next attack.
It's never if, it's when,
Thank you.
unfortunately.
Thank you,
appreciate that.
Councilor O'Malley. Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, echoing my colleagues' gratitude for you, the team, so echoing, thank you. Appreciate your leadership. My specific question is about, to Councilor Lenahan's point, what kind of staffing and support we need around the people element as the entry point, right? In which we have a lot of we have high confidence. I mean, I have high confidence in you and your team to stay on top of all of the related tech pieces. In my other job, my day job, I mean, we, in wrestling with this same dynamic, which I know everyone is, have gotten to the point where where our IT department tests people and sends out fake phishing emails all the time.
We do the same.
Do you do that? And so, do you know, that's good for all of us to know. Do you know what the response rate is of those, or like how are ours? Yep.
We can do better.
We can do better, yeah. And so I won't ask you to share what the success rate was on those in the live streamed public meeting that's archived online forever. But yeah, is there anything else that would be helpful for us to do as a council to create the right kind of environment of not to shame people because they failed the test, but to just really help get it in front and center for people?
I think making the training a little bit more mandatory is a good thing. We nudge them. We nudge the end users. Some need no nudging. Some are very, embrace it and they want to go through it, and they want to make sure they get their 100%, or at least they get their passing mark. But we need to get a little bit more aggressive in terms of saying, you really need to do this. This is an important thing. I love the idea of having it in multiple languages, because that would probably be really beneficial too, because we have an influx of newer employees, so we have to think about that too.
Okay.
So we'll be discussing that.
Well, and I'm sure my colleagues would be happy to work with you and your team on how to really get that mandatory message hammered home as much as possible.
Appreciate that. And it's difficult because, when we contract systems, people want to be able to just kind of go places. And in that window, when we were securing things, access was very limited. You only got to go to where you really needed to go to. And that can be, that's a lot. People get frustrated with that, and I can understand it. But we managed to really keep the access down to a small group, and we're going to get a little bit more aggressive in terms of content filtering and, where people can go and, accessing private email and the like.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Spatafora. Oop, 1 second. Councilor Spatafora, there you go.
Thank you, Madam President. And echoing my fellow councilors, and I want to dovetail off Councilor McDonald's comments. This is certainly something that in my day job, it is a common occurrence. I work for a financial company, and we're attacked every day, essentially. Hundreds of thousands of times within a week, and we do the data security. Couple things that you did mention, so I had a couple questions, if you don't mind. So we did a post-mortem review of what happened, and we know what the computer was, and we understand how to avoid it, right? Yep. The other thing that myself and Councilor McDonald talked, the systems, we can insulate our systems pretty well in terms of technology and software, but the weakest link is always going to be us, right? Correct. And to the point, again, going back to my day job, this year they instituted, I think I told you this before, when you gave me a briefing on the attack. If you fail a phishing or smishing, which is texting, if you fail that 5 times in a year, that's for texting, SMS. They also have whaling. They have all types of you will be fired, regardless of your position in the company. 3 times, you have to go to training. 5, you are asked to leave the firm because they are that serious about the weakest link being the human. I'm not certainly advocating for that here, but I would say that we do have to get serious about that because, like Councilor Linehan mentioned, it's body cameras. The police department has thousands of data points now. Everything we're doing is digitized. So we are a source of, in my world, PII, which is personal identification information, right? That we are a good source, and you can pick up any newspaper now. They're attacking cities because usually we have less defenses, less personnel, less money going towards it. So that's something I'm personally, dedicated towards whatever we need to do in that way. But I think we need to, as much as we talked about language access and all those other things, training our employees.
Couldn't agree with you more.
On that is just as important, in my opinion. And I think the other thing is using MFA, multi-factor authentication, which we've talked about.
Which we do.
There's not I would mandate it on almost everything, even when we use Office 360 and we go in there remotely.
That's being implemented right now.
Good. because user behavior, right, is actually the key here. And I do want to echo my colleagues, what we did here is probably a little bit of luck, right? I mean, you'd admit that yourself. We caught it in time.
Timing.
And there's other communities out there which some talk about it, some don't, but there's plenty of examples where it's millions of dollars that they've paid to get back in their systems. We were lucky enough, we were able to literally pull the plug in time, but we might not be lucky next time because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I think this is something that we talk about, a lot of other important things that come up to the community. This is going to be something that will happen again, and hopefully we catch it. And if we don't, we have to be prepared for it. Do we have cyber insurance?
Yes.
We do. Okay.
Limited fund, but.
Yeah, we probably want to look at that. And the last thing I would just say is, you know, you mentioned the schools, but are we looking at this holistically, like with the police department, the fire department, obviously the school department, all these other agencies we have that we're connecting, especially through payroll, right? Are we hardening our defenses with those organizations too? Because I know they're not under your domain, but in the same token.
In some senses, they are. Payroll operations.
Yeah, those are
falls under my
yours.
system.
So like the police department, are we, you know, concerned about that? Are we hardening them? Fire department? I mean, everybody's using technology.
Kind of the same gear. We're using stuff that's a little bit more advanced in some cases, but they have a good handle on where their security aspects are.
All right.
School department, all of the systems, all the critical systems are actually on my network. They're not on the school's network.
Good.
They're separated. But one of the things moving forward that we're planning on doing is, you know, we have a huge amount of investments for, you know, HVAC and green technologies and, you know, their security systems. We have to kind of start thinking about combining things under one umbrella just so we can have at least one security system and access for management. So we're looking at doing that right now.
Yeah, I would just employ my other councils who might not be familiar with this, take 20 minutes out of your day and just Google this stuff, and it is frightening because they literally cripple communities, and they've done it to hospitals where they have to pay to get it back. And now the new thing that I read not that long ago is where they're calling up and saying, we've put we've planted the bug, but they never did it, but they get the ransom. Because
It is a business.
Yeah, to everybody's point, you don't know if it's in there, like somebody broke in your house, but that's the new thing, they're bluffing you. They're saying there's a bug in there, they're asking for the $1 million, they get the $1 million, and then,
That's why
We lied.
That's why you got to go through this
yeah,
stuff.
you gotta go, that's why the
fine-tooth comb.
postmortem's so important. So I could talk about this for hours, as you could probably tell, I get animated, but to me, this is something that is very critical to the community, and will be for as long as we're connected to the Internet of Things, so I appreciate it, I'm glad we're lucky, and I look forward to talking about this later on.
I'm a huge fan of this software. Good. Because that was the lucky part, buying that software.
Yep. Thank you, Madam President, appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Well, Mr. Rodrigues, you have my attention, you've had my attention for a number of years now, as you know. I know that during our move, you know, in with ARPA money, we were able to update a lot of our hardware and software, which has been very beneficial in this move, but I have always felt that we have not invested enough in our IT technology. And if you look at normal companies and you look at the percentage of the budget that a company would normally spend on IT, I always felt we were far below what that manageable amount or that nut should have been. So as Councilor O'Malley said, you have our attention now. The budget cycle is coming up. This is the time to tell us what you need. I'm sure the mayor's office also is very interested in that because our goal is to prevent, you know, this from happening again. I know it's not 100%, but we need to do everything in our power to make sure that we have really the most up-to-date software and the most up-to-date, you know, ability to prevent this, or at least respond to it in as timely a fashion as possible. So I want to thank you for coming in. I want to thank you for all that you and your staff did. I think our conversation went one day, this was a Super Bowl, and it was a Super Bowl you never wished you were in. But you came through the game with flying colors and getting a touchdown, so thank you very much, and thank your staff too. because I know it was a
Appreciate
team
that.
effort, so.
And I appreciate all your efforts, because I
Thank you.
know you have a bunch of conflicting goals and needs, so there's not a lot of, slices of the pie to go around, as it were. So I appreciate all your support in these endeavors.
The business doesn't work without it, so without you guys, so. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. And feel
having-
free to call me anytime, email me, and I can expand on anything you'd like.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you. So having finished that segment, and I will try to do this without crying, okay? We just received news that Karen Anderson has passed.
Oh, man.
So, she passed. Do you want to read what Jim wrote, please? Let me turn it on.
Subject line of the email says Karen Anderson, 1954, 2023. No. Friends, today Karen finished up this leg of her journey. Our daughters, her sister, her eldest niece, and I were wrapped around her. No pain, no fussing, just some hard breaths, and then none. Wamakush Funeral Home in Malden will handle arrangements. I will share details when we know them. I might be comms dark for a few more days. Thank you all for the wishes, prayers, foods, quilts, flowers, texts, emails, cards. I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting at the moment. Please forgive me if so. And that was from, of course, her husband, Jim.
So I would ask that we all stand for a moment of silence. A moment of silence is just not enough for Karen, but thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, okay, just for everybody to kind of recompose a little bit. I know. Just Kleenex for anybody who needs it.
Does anyone know how old?
resume the council meeting at 8:51. Okay, public comments. Okay, public comment is allowed under the council rules. Each speaker is limited to subject matter relevant to the evening's agenda and must keep their comments to 2 minutes or less. Clerk, do we have anyone who signed up for public comment or sent in any emails?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next item, please.
Paper 96-23, minutes for the meeting of February 28th, 2023, and paper 97-23, minutes for the meeting of March 7th, 2023.
Motion to approve both sets of minutes by Councilor Seeker, seconded by Councilor Winslow. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next order of business, please.
Paper 98-23, mayoral reappointment. Kirk Zimjewski of 569 Fellsway East as a member of the Conservation Commission, said term to commence upon confirmation by the City Council and to expire on February 13th, 2025, confirmation required.
Okay. Councilor Linehan for the paper. That would be helpful, I'm sorry. There you go.
Thank you. I move that we approve on the floor. I meet with Kirk regularly. He's doing a great job. I know this is a mayoral reappointment, and in my opinion, I'm okay moving forward with this. Thank you.
On Councilor Linehan's motion to confirm the appointment on the floor, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment has been confirmed. Next order of business, please.
Paper 99-23, petition, Livery, David G. Ulysses, 230 Bryant Street, Apartment 3, Malden, one vehicle renewal. Paper 100-23, petition, Lodging House, Top Tier Properties, LLC, doing business as Sir Carlton at 33 Maple Street, Malden, renewal.
Okay, on Councilor Seeker, hold on one second. On Councilor Seeker's motion. I can't get you to light up, I don't know why. Councilor O'Malley, are you asking? I don't know. Oh, okay. Okay, Councilor Seeker, why? Well,
She didn't request it.
refer to license. On Councilor Seeker's motion to refer the petitions to license. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The petitions are referred to license. Next order of business.
Paper 101-23, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $400,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Kierstead Park Improvement Project, $400,000 from General Reserve, total appropriation.
On Councilor McDonald's.
Yes, and I just wanted to note that we've already docketed this for Finance Committee, and we'll be, or we've got it on the schedule, and we will be having folks from the CPC come and talk about these projects in Finance Committee if you want to learn more.
So on Councilor McDonald's motion to refer the paper to the Finance Committee.
Which will be essential in order to have said hearing, yes.
Yes. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The paper has been referred to Finance.
Paper 102-23, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $550,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Early Learning Center Playground Project.
Motion to refer to Finance Committee?
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer to the Finance Committee, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Paper has been referred to Finance.
Paper 103-23, resolve that it is the sense of the City Council that they wish to invite representatives from Urban Media Arts to appear to present their Who is Malden Film Builder Program.
So once again, just putting this out before the City Council so that we're all in agreement that we would like to see them come in. I do need a motion from the floor. Motion from Councilor Crowe, seconded by Councilor Seeker, to have Boomer come in to discuss their film building initiative. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We will invite them in and schedule them accordingly. Pardon me? Oh. Okay.
Paper 104-23, committee report. Personnel appointments on paper, I'm sorry. It's a committee report from Personnel and Appointments, mayoral appointment for Karen Nystrom, 630 Salem Street, Malden, as the tenant representative member of the Malden Housing Authority Board. Said term to commence upon confirmation by the City Council and to expire May 1st, 2028, to fill the vacancy left by the passing of George Bears.
On Councilor Linehan's motion to accept the committee report, receive this committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The committee report has been received. Councilor Linehan, why is this doing? Councilor Linehan for the committee.
Thank you. So I actually wasn't present for this meeting, so if anybody else wants to jump in and add context, I'm fine to have anybody add comments. But from the minutes, from what I understand, the committee met with Karen. She lives at 630 Salem. She's going to be joining as the tenant member of the Housing Board at Steve Finn's invitation. She's born and raised in Malden, a graduate of Malden High. She's been part of Junior Aid, Rotary, and the Chamber, and is passionate about giving tenants a voice in the building. So I would move that we approve her appointment, excuse me.
Second.
So, clerk, if you'd read the paper. Clerk, if you'd read the paper.
Paper 35-23, mayoral appointment, Karen Nystrom, 630 Salem Street, as the tenant representative member of the Malden Housing Authority Board. Said term to commence upon confirmation by the City Council and to expire May 1st, 2028, to fill the vacancy left by the passing of George Bears.
On Councilor Linehan's motion to confirm the appointment, seconded by, who seconded that? Councilor Winslow. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment has been confirmed. Next order of business.
Committee report, paper 105-23, committee report. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 66 through 80 of Series 2023, having considered the same, make the following report, that the petitions be recommended out favorably to the full City Council.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to receive the committee report, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Councilor Seeker for the paper. For the
Thank you,
committee.
Madam President. The License Committee met last week, and we had the compliance team in. There were no issues with these. The majority of them are renewals. There are some new ones, since we haven't really had taxi cab drivers since COVID, so it was a welcome sight to have them back in the committee. So on the License Committee voted unanimously to approve all of them, and the city clerk can read them all together, so we can vote on them all together.
Alrighty, here we go.
Here we go.
Paper 66-23 petition, amusement machines, Provo Corp. DBA, Patrick's and Franny's, 36 to 40 Lebanon Street, 3 machines renewal. Paper 67-23 petition, Livery, Limo Lounge Inc., 56 Linden Avenue, number 4, 1 vehicle, new. Paper 68-23 petition, taxi driver, Alan Ambrose, 21 Ripley Street, new. Paper 69-23 petition, taxi driver, Ryan Bragg, 27 Slayton Way, Unit 3, Roxbury, new. Paper 70-23 petition, taxi driver, Louis Chula, 235 Revere Street, number 503, Revere, new. Paper 71-23 petition, taxi driver, William Cook, 19 Talbot Street, number 614, Saugus, renewal. Paper 72-23 petition, taxi driver, Clark Heighton, 476 Shirley Street, number 3, Winthrop, new. Paper 73-23 petition, taxi driver, Christopher Jackson, 24 Surfside Road, number 6, Lynn, renewal. Paper 74-23 petition, taxi driver, Dominique Long, 120 Salem Street, Malden, new. Paper 75-23 petition, taxi driver, Rita Nihar Balade, 13 School Street, Everett, new. Paper 76-23 petition, taxi driver, Michael Rapiglia, 9 Richardson Street, renewal. Paper 77-23 petition, taxi driver, William Sweet, 117 Medford Street, number 1, renewal. Paper 78-23 petition, taxi driver, Valentine Shilley, 30 Washington Street, number 508, Brighton, renewal. Paper 79-23 petition, taxi driver, Carlos Vargas, 290 Mishawam Road, number 2039, Woburn, renewal. Paper 80-23 petition, taxi driver, John Walters, 5 Hancock Street, number 11, Everett, new.
Motion to grant, because I think I did not do that.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to grant the petition, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The petitions have been granted.
Paper-
Next order of business.
Paper 106-23 Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred paper 429, Series of Series 2022, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends that this paper be recommended out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Councilor Crow for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. So as the rec department has been working on policies and sort of rules, we needed to really update the ordinance to actually give them the authority to enforce those rules. So, you know, the two areas that we're looking at is that if somebody wanted to have a lease necessarily for longer than a year, that it wouldn't necessarily go to the rec department, it would actually come to the city council. So anything, you know, sort of below the years for a season or other things like that. And then the other update was the compliance officer as well as the recreation coordinator and anybody duly hired have the authority to enforce the rules and permits issued. So that gave them a little more teeth. I think Councilor Winslow wants to speak on that. As they're working on their rules and policies, they needed sort of the authority to actually enforce those rules and policies. So I'll turn it over to.
Yeah, this ordinance is a companion to the work that the Rec and Stadium Commission has done. So they at their last meeting, they voted to update their rules and regulations that took care of some other things that were more specific in terms of permitting. And so this just clarifies that the Recreation Department, in terms of actually enforcing their rules and regulations, that the staff of the Rec Department can be doing that, as well as the compliance officers. That's a clarification. And then I think just the clarification of what's kind of a permit versus what's something long, just important that we clarify that the council really wants to see anything that's over a year. I think it may still go through the process. Someone might start with the rec department, but it would have to come to here for approval. It wouldn't be valid until the council reviewed it. So those are the two components to make this more fully enforceable and more readily enforceable. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Clerk, would you like to read the language of the paper, please?
Paper 429-22, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden 2.12.170 Recreation Programs, Recreation Coordinator be amended.
So on Councilor Crow's motion to enroll the ordinance, seconded by Councilor Winslow, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Sorry, stand by. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora.
Yes.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Murphy.
Yes. So the ordinance has been, oh, yes, Councilor.
Council, I'd like to see if we can suspend the rules for the purpose of ordaining, only because they will be starting to look at the permitting process. So I don't know if it's appropriate time to do it now. We can wait 2 weeks, but I know that the spring permits will be coming up soon.
Let me just finish by saying the ordinance is now enrolled. So we got that officially done. Okay,
Okay.
so now,
And if there's no appetite to do that, it's fine too.
Councilor O'Malley, one moment, please.
So I've read the paper, but I haven't had a chance to read it while looking at the full ordinance. So if we could just do it in 2
That's
weeks,
fine.
it would give me a chance to kind of read it in its full, digest it.
That's fine?
Yeah, I think that the permits are actually going to be effective April 1st, so if we vote on it March 28th, that way it's effective, and then, actually, that'll be effective. And technically, we could enforce the regulations anyway, it just. You might be. So, yeah. I'm fine with waiting 2 weeks.
Okay. So we're all good.
Suspension of council rules. Papers enrolled.
Okay, so next order of business, please.
Paper 107-23, Committee Report. the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, jointly with Resiliency and Sustainability Committee, to whom was referred paper 32-23, having considered the same, make the following report, that the paper be recommended out favorably as drafted to the full City Council.
Counselor Winslow?
Oh, yeah. you
Oh, yeah,
wanna
on
accept
Counselor
it.
Winslow's motion to receive the committee report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, yes, that's true. Okay, so. it's
Committee report
two
is
committees,
received.
so.
Counselor Winslow.
Yeah, so this is with the committee report, we did report out favorably. We had a public hearing to talk about this resolution. It's really focused on a lot on electric bikes and electric scooters. But we did, Councilor Murphy and I did receive calls from Chief Cronin, and we just want to sit down with the police before we kind of take the next step. They just, ultimately, they are involved with enforcement. You know, I did speak a bit with Lieutenant Tuxbury ahead of time, but I think it'd just be good to really go over with them to understand. There's you know, the difference between an e-bike these days and a moped is kind of a gray area, and just trying to make sure that they understand that this is I think actually it'll be an added enforcement tool rather than a subtractive enforcement tool. So I would make a motion to table this, and then we can take it up in a couple weeks. Thank you. Great. Right. Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Paper is tabled. Next order of
The
business.
next
We have-
order of business
we
is
have one
going
that's
to
coming off
be
the table.
Counselor- Yep.
Counselor Sika. One moment, please. Okay,
Thank you,
Counselor
Madam
Sika.
President. I would like to take paper 3123 off the table. It's the petition Class 1 license for Smart Buy USA of 616 Broadway, renewal 26 vehicles.
So we have a motion to take
Motion
it off
to
the
take it
table,
off the table.
seconded by Counselor Cologne Hayes. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The paper is off the table. Counselor Sika for the
Thank you.
paper.
The License Committee met a few weeks ago. Mr. Colometta had some unpaid tickets that he needed to get taken care of, and I received an email from the treasurer this afternoon that he has paid all his outstanding balances, and we were okay to take this off the table and renew it. So, motion to grant.
So motion to grant, all those, seconded by Counselor Simonelli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The petition has been granted.
Thank you.
Okay. Next order of business is executive session. But we are going to, before we go to into executive session, we are going to skip to personal privilege.
Do you want to take the vote first and then close out the personal privilege?
No, just I'm skipping over it.
You're just going to skip over?
I'm skipping
Okay.
over it. We're going to do
Personal
personal privilege. So we have, for personal privilege, we have Counselor Winslow.
Well, I'd like to wish everybody of Irish background a happy St. Patrick's Day. So that's one thing. And then I also want to remind people that at the Salemwood School on March 25th, this Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, we're doing a community cleanup. We'll have folks from the Live Like Becca Foundation out there with us. We do a cleanup from there along the trails, sort of basically from like Broadway down to Franklin Street. So would love to have people come out and help us clean up that part of the trail. It's often this is the dirtiest time of year because Project Triangle hasn't been cleaning it up like they do in the summer. So so it's important to get out there before stuff grows up too much. So I'll have the bags and the pickers and other type of things, and we'll have a rain or shine, we'll be out there picking up some trash. So come out for that. Thanks. Great.
Thank you, Counselor Winslow. Counselor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to wish everybody, even without the Irish backgrounds, a happy Thanksgiving Day. I mean, a happy St. Patrick's Day. Sorry. I've been thinking turkey all day today. I've been thinking turkey all day today. But yeah, I'd like to thank everybody. What is it again? St. Patrick's Day festivity. Boiled dinner, that's the one. Not boiled turkey, boiled dinner. All right. On a serious note, though, I would like to put my colleagues on the hot seat. I'd like you to try to buy a ticket from me after the end of this announcement. You don't have to buy it now, like later on. It's, you know, I work with a girl that her family was one of those that were involved in, her two brothers were victims of the marathon bombing, and each brother lost a leg, lost a limb. And she works with me over at the Board of Health in Everett, and you know, great family. And they run this, you know, kicking off 2023 Boston Marathon, a Leg Forever Foundation. And what they do is they raise money throughout the year. I've been to their bingo already, and they raise enough money, and you know, they do like a lottery, and you know, they buy the person, you know, a leg or a limb that they need to move around, one of them electronic, robotic type of limbs. So I think it's a great cause. One of the brothers we're actually having come and do the murals at Kierstead Park, because he does that all over Stoneham. Stoneham Town Hall lets him do it. He has a book with all kinds of things in it, and he does real good work. But the problem is that the festivity is getting so big. They originally had it at the Cafe Capri in Main Street in Reading. But they grew to having more than 120 people, so the place couldn't accommodate them and fit them. So they asked me if I could help, and of course I ran to Albert Spatafora, and like usual, he always takes care of me and don't let me down, and he helped these folks and got them a new venue. So the tickets will say Cafe Capri. I'm not dogging you and trying to steal nothing from you, but the event is still at the same time, same date, but it's going to be at Anthony's instead. It's like $20 a ticket, but it's a good cause, great people. You know, I'd love to see all these there. I think they're going to start hosting their events here in Malden moving forward. So they do like a big bingo and everything else. So I know that as time goes by, we don't forget, but you know, other things come up, and you know, we don't remember as well as when it just happened. And a lot of people were injured, a lot of people lost their lives, and these two individuals each lost a leg. So you know, I'd like to, you know, show them the appreciation of what they do all year throughout the year to raise money to help folks that aren't as lucky as we are. So if you could help me out, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to let folks know that the March 6th Energy Efficiency and Sustainability Commission meeting that we had with our consultants about Malden's greenhouse gas emissions, it was a great meeting, and we thank you to a couple of my colleagues who were there, Councilor Winslow, Councilor Murphy, and the recording's posted online at the Green Malden page, which is your one-stop shop for all things sustainability in Malden. I'm still on, okay.
Yep, still on.
Wanted to preview the date of April 15th, which is going to be an Earth Day, like services and community fair with community groups and all kinds of opportunities for residents, like our home energy efficiency incentives, connections with the Malden Community Garden. So a lot of credit to the city staff who are working on pulling that together. But I just wanted to make sure that you all got that on your calendars. That'll be the launch of our public engagement around our climate action planning community engagement process, getting folks' input. So look forward to that. Should be a great event for the whole family. That's what I got today.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President, and of course, happy St. Patrick's Day. It's on a Friday, so I'll be safe. Everybody will be out early, I'm sure. But I just really want to say congratulations to Carolyn Desiderio, our city clerk, who participated in a panel discussion this afternoon with other women that really have made an impact in our community. So, and it really was in honor of Women's History Month, and I'm sure she inspired a lot of other people to kind of get involved and get motivated. So congratulations, Carolyn, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
I just want to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. You know, it's a weird night after the news that we just found out, so I'm a little bit off kilter there. wishing everyone a safe St. Patrick's Day, and may your home always be too small to fit all of your friends.
Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. So all I have to say, we are going to go into executive session. Yes, I will. I just also wanted to say that once this is over, we will not be we will only be coming back to adjourn the council session. We will not be handling any more business. So on the executive session, so if you would read the order, please.
Paper 108-23, order that the City Council meet with legal counsel in executive session in regard to Barkowski v. Malden Police Department et al. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, as such discussion in open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the city's litigating position, and to admit a Maria Louise Special Assistant to the mayor.
Okay. Citing exemption 3 on the MGL C30A, Section 21A, we're in discussing paper 108-3, an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the city's litigating position. On Councilor Crow's motion to enter into executive session, seconded by Councilor O'Malley, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Seca. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Winslow. Council President Murphy.
Yes, and the council will now enter into executive session. Councilor O'Malley, you had something you wanted to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we usually invite the special assistant, and I was just going to say maybe in the future, when it's related to like a department, so for instance, this is the Malden Police, I think it probably would be best if we also invited the department head who might have some feedback relevant to it. Obviously not going to hold it up tonight,
Right.
but just something to think about. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. So once again, we will be returning only to adjourn, not to conduct any further business.